Hey everybody, Dr. Ben Adkins here with you today. If you can hear my voice coming through loud and clear, do me a favor and jump into the questions box and just say hello so that we know that you're coming through loud and clear and you can see the screen and you can see some. Okay, cool. So you guys are seeing some cool stuff on there, and at least we got half of it right. So that's good. So you probably can also see the lovely Miss Ling on your screen right now, waving at you. I was going to be on the screen too, but my webcam decided to break right before we went live today, so that's okay. I don't think anybody wanted to see me anyway. So we've got a big one for you today. We've been doing this awesome sort of kind of how do we launch back into getting business started? How do we help people as agency owners? How do you help yourself if you're a small business watching this and you're going to do this stuff for yourself? How do you get back into the mix as things are sort of topsy-turvy? And what we've kind of been through in the last little bit, just to kind of date ourselves here, but I'm okay with dating ourselves because I think it's very important that we establish what has happened in the business world in the last few months. Over the last few months, we went through a year pretty much of COVID lockdowns, up and down with things like that. And then we hit sort of this nice stretch with vaccinations coming in and a lot of the stuff that we were doing starting to work a little bit, that we started to open up a little bit. And then when you know it, we start hitting these fun variants of COVID that has started to shut down other places again. And so what small businesses are dealing with right now is tough. They don't know if they're going to have mask mandates that they have to enforce, that nobody else is going to enforce. It's going to have to be them. They don't know, what they're going to be able to do in terms of capacity in the future, some places. And it's a lot of uncertainty. And one of the things that I want to get across to, small business owners and agency owners is simply this. It's no matter what comes at you, you're going to be okay as long as you have the skills to adapt and to continue to put yourself in front of a lot of people. Now, the big opportunity, which is sort of it's hard to talk about, but the big opportunity is you like it or not, a lot of your competitors are closing down. They're not going to keep up. They're not going to be the ones that stick around. And the opportunity is you're going to have a lot of people looking for help, and they need your business because the person they were going to or the person that they trusted isn't in business anymore. And so how do you capture up that market share? How do you capture up market share? Anyway, let's say none of this was going on. What do you need to do if you're going to be aggressive, if you're really going to take a stance that I'm going to grow my business? And so all this stuff really plays in either way, but it's especially important right now with what we're going through. And I think the big lesson that I think every small business owner right now has is digital marketing is one of the most important things that you can do, because right now people are looking around to say, hey, are they still around? What's going on? Hey, who can help me with these things now that I don't know that if that Google listing is actually a still open business? And so these are things that are going to be super important. Now today, getting into the topic of today, we're going to get real focused on something specific with our special guest. Can we even call you a special guest anymore? This is just kind of our show. I feel like that's what it is. It's just our show now. So Liana is going to take us through real estate today. And you guys know her, you love her. She is far smarter than me. Let's just go ahead and get it out there in case nobody has picked up on that. There's nobody that's been a part of this series so far that's watched any of these that doesn't understand that Adkins is just along for the ride and you're the smart one. So let's make sure that that's completely clear here. But today you're going to be talking about real estate and some cool things that we can do with real estate, with ads, with really running the full funnel. So I'm going to get out of the way. I'm going to let you dig into this because I know you have a ton of to cover in the next little bit. And we're going to jump into the chat box and we're going to help you answer questions. So guys, if you have anything that you want to ask along the way, feel free to do it. We have a special section where we'll pick up those questions. But stream of consciousness, while you have the question, type QQQ, put it into the questions box. We'll get it answered. And like I said, we'll make sure that everything that you have, we'll get it taken care of for you. So without any further ado, my good friend, take it away. I'm going to pass the screen over to you because I know you've got stuff that you want to show off today. So I'm going to make you the presenter, and let's make sure that I actually did that correctly because I have a habit of not doing that correctly. We know that for a fact. And let's make sure that we get your screen over here. There it is. It's beautiful. And good stuff. I'm going to let you rock and roll. I'm going to mute out. I'm going to jump in the questions box and take it away.
Okay, that's awesome. And you know what's interesting is I love how in tune we all are, because what I'm going to be covering today is we are going to be covering a real estate funnel. However, this actually fits in exactly on point with what Ben was just talking about. I'm actually going to share with you an approach, and I actually haven't done this publicly yet, so I would love your feedback as well as I go through it. But I'm going to share with you my process for how I navigate in uncertainty. I always try, even though we're focusing on one funnel, I always try and make sure that it's relevant to other things as well. So if you look at this and you're thinking real estate, oh, I'm never going to do real estate ads, please hang in there, because everything that I go through, you're going to be able to apply that to high risk markets, and also how to just apply it when things are uncertain, and how to have staying power. I've seen it all. You don't see all my gray hair, but I've seen a lot. I've been through a lot, and I'm still here. So I'm going to share with you what has gotten me through it and what is continuing to help us get through it and deliver good results in Facebook ads when everybody else is complaining and pulling their hair out and not knowing what to do. So let's jump into this real estate funnel, because real estate is I think it's the perfect example of some things with some issues that we have to be careful about, but also how to pivot. So let me know in the chat box, give me a 1 if you're ready to get going and dive in. Okay, here we go. So when we take a look at real estate, before I jump in and show you all of the components that I've created, what makes it so special? And like I said, this is also relevant for high risk markets as well. It may not have the exact same restrictions, but pretty much almost everything you put up in an ad has some type of restriction in some way in Facebook. And I know we did one session, so you'll have to go back through the playlist to find it, where I went even further more into compliance. So make sure you go and review that as well. That is still relevant today. I'm not going to go over it in detail since we've covered it there, but specifically for real estate, okay, the restrictions that we have on there are a very specific category. So even if you say, like, even if you use the words that sound like you are posting something about a listing or housing, Facebook will actually put you in what they call a special category. And this special category is for housing. And what it actually does is it restricts your targeting. You can't do things like age and some other demographic areas. So people get very, discouraged, thinking like, oh my gosh, I can't market like this. Same thing happens for like employment situations or cryptocurrency or things like that. And that's why I think this is also relevant if you do plan or are working in any high risk markets, which I guess in Facebook land is pretty much any market nowadays, right? Let's be honest about this. Um, but here's the thing is I don't get stressed out about it. What some people do, and I just actually had a call with someone earlier today. I was talking to a prospect, and what they were doing is they were spending all of their time and energy putting things up that weren't compliant and it getting taken down and figuring out ways to go around that. Well, wouldn't it be so much easier if you could just have staying power and not have to worry about all of that? And that's my approach when it comes to high risk markets. What I want to do is the solution is, first of all, I want to know what the restrictions are. So for real estate, the restrictions are targeting. Okay, I can deal with that, right? With targeting, and I'll show you how we're going to deal with that in a moment. If you have other restrictions, like you can't say certain words, or you can't come up with it, you can't lead with a certain hook. Get the most information you can about what you are not allowed to do. And then really, it's just a matter of being creative. Sometimes, actually, often in those situations, your funnel will have to be longer because you have to have a more gentle approach, I think, to the top of the funnel there, because you have, like, you're basically trying to advertise with your hand tied behind your back because you can't be as direct as possible. But it doesn't mean you can't be successful. It just means you have to work harder and be a little bit more creative in your ads and in your landing page. But I don't stress about it. And whereas everybody else is stressing about it, knowledge is power. Figure out what the restrictions are. And then even if you have to grab a friend or somebody in our community, this is what the group is there for. Let's brainstorm together to come up with some creative ways, because there's always a way to do that. And then you have much more staying power, and that will actually make you stand out from the crowd as well as an agency. Unfortunately, I have spoken to way too many prospects who was working with somebody who they thought they knew what they were doing, and they didn't know any of the rules. They just kept letting them run ads to non-compliant pages and things like that, and they ended up getting shut down. And then what does a person do? They disappear because they feel like they failed. So this is one of the ways that I've actually been able to have staying power as well, is being able to know what the restrictions are and figure out ways to get around it. So I'll get off of my soapbox here for a moment, but I mean, this is definitely something that's helped me out a lot. I know that each one of you on the call here and watching this video can embrace this as well. So moving on, now that we know what the restrictions are, okay, what are we going to do about it? So I am actually going to show you as we go through here in the ads. Actually, let me just jump over to how I feel like I need to jump over to here at this moment, and then I'll get into the details. So really what I'm doing here is I am turning everything upside down. Usually we're trying to find that one person, right? We're trying to figure out what's the interest, like what is like the exact point where I can find that one person who's going to buy my stuff, and then how do I amplify that over and over and over again. That's a little bit like push marketing, but it's also really frustrating because with all the changes with privacy, we can't find these people. I mean, even if you go into your breakdowns, like by geography or something like that in your Facebook ads, it'll all say like unknown, right? And pretty soon, I think everything with ages and, sex and any other demographics, we'll probably start to see those as unknown. So it's going to be almost impossible to find that needle, like, which is our perfect client in this haystack. Instead, and this is much more stress-free, and this is basically how I address any high-risk things. I go broad and I let the audiences be drawn towards us. So the copy, the landing page, everything needs to attract the right person. So this way you can target as broad as you want. In this case with real estate, we have restrictions on targeting. I'm fine with that. And I'll show you the targeting that I actually recommend for this real estate campaign we're creating. But I'm fine with that. Go broad and just let the ads draw the right people towards you. For example, I was doing one recently for repair shops. And the best audience that worked for me was not people interested in cars and all. I mean, I had all this research done. I was testing a ton of different audiences, trying to find that needle in the haystack, right? At the end of the day, what worked was a really broad interest, entrepreneurship, right? That's huge. But that worked. And we were literally getting repair shops. Why? Because the video, the creative, everything was designed to speak to a repair shop owner. So then it started attracting more repair shop owners, and they were commenting on the ad. And then Facebook started showing it to more and more people in that space, even though it was so broad. So this has really been working very well for us when you have these types of restrictions. And oh, by the way, Ashton will let me know if you have any questions, so feel free to interrupt and I will jump over towards that. So this was my solution, and let me just go into the campaign right now. So in terms of this real estate campaign, like we said, we know we have restrictions on targeting, and also with real estate, I think that you need to consider two different types of ads. So we're going to go a little bit broader. In the past, we've basically done the, hey, get this discount, get a 2-for-1 or something like that if it was a spa or other type of, I think, consumer-based business. With real estate, if you're a realtor, and I spoke with Zach Hammer, I think many of you may have know him in the group, and it's all about building a relationship. In fact, one of the tips that he gave me was try and target people and create campaigns around life events, like basically events that people experience right before they decide they're going to move, like they're getting married or they're having kids or they're getting a new job or like some big change in their life that is an indicator that they want to buy something. And it's about creating that relationship relationship. So I don't usually focus on the back end of the campaigns, but for realtors, I think it's also really important that you have a strong back end. You've got a good text messaging campaign going. You also have ways of getting them onto your email list, and you are really good at nurturing them and keeping those conversations going. That's how you're going to be able to deliver ROI to your real estate clients over the long term. So we'll have two different types of ads, right? Obviously, we're going to have the, hey, here's the listing, buy it now. That's going to be one type for sure. And especially I think if you are in a smaller area, these can also be very effective because we're just going to be focusing on the geography in terms of an audience. We also need to create what I call like sideways ads. And I put popcorn there on purpose because what we need to do is we need to come at it from the side, not from, hey, build a house right now. What's another way we can interest people? What's another way we can keep them, like I said, just watching, eating popcorn, ingesting our content, so that when we have the right listing for them, or they remember us when they're ready to list or buy, they'll come to us. Okay? So I'm going to show you both of these. And when I say sideways, the ultimate goal is to get them onto an email list or an SMS list. Even if they're on SMS, I still would at some point try and get them onto an email list because, hey, isn't it better if we have them on two different type of lists to communicate with them? So I think a lot of things that's going to go with a lot of your budget can actually move towards the sideways list, because then, like I said, it gives the realtor something to communicate with people and just keep them interested. And if you are working with a small area, that's even better. Like, can you imagine making it a goal of maybe getting like 50% or of the people in that neighborhood or more onto your SMS or your email list, and having that realtor communicate with them in interesting ways? And oh, by the way, if you don't offer that as a service, maybe you want to. I won't go into too much, but there's a lot of opportunity if you want to really service, like do a full service agency for the realtors in there, because they need so much help, not just from the ads, but from content marketing and for the back end. So let's take a look at these two ads. The first ad would be a listing, and actually, I'm going to pause my screen here for a moment because I'm going to pull up the landing pages that I created. And as always, I want to show you how to do things super, super fast. I went into Customer Engine and I did this within minutes, okay? So let me show you. I just created a super simple listing here. The image I took from Unsplash, and I was trying to come up with something that was really, really short. Now, keep in mind, the Facebook ad is probably going to have a lot of the information in there. So by the time they hit this page, they should just be ready to, boom, enter in their email or their cell phone number, sorry, and just, way to go. But super, super simple, right? And I would put here whatever is kind of sexy in that market, right? I don't know if 5-bedroom, 2 baths would make somebody be very excited about it, but that's what I'm going to put out there. And then I put in what I hope would be a sort of a compelling headline. And oh, by the way, again, I was running short on time, so I actually created this with conversion.ai. There's a whole bunch of different AIs. I like Headline and Conversion AI. I've talked about it before. I didn't have a lot of time, so I actually took the listing and I put it into conversion.ai, and it spit out some different options. And so I just picked one that I thought looked good and I put it over here. So I think I got some pretty good copy done within minutes. And if you want me to show you how I do this, I'm happy to do this in this call. It won't take very long. Just let us know in the questions. And boom, I've got the landing page up. Okay, let's go back to the wording for this ad. So for a listing, again, I just made it up here. Sorry, there's an extra space here. But again, I actually used conversion.ai because, again, I was sort of lazy and I wanted to get this done quick. So I copied the listing and I threw it in there. I'm doing a made up Community, Stars Hollow, one of my favorite shows. And I just put this here in terms of the ad. So for the listing of the ad, I just put the description. of the listing. And, I think what would be really good would be to create maybe like a carousel ad or a video ad where, you're walking through the property, anything like that. And then I've got like the headline, step into your new home, and the description. So it'll be something like this, okay? So you can have some of these running. The other type of ad I would also be trying is, like I said, the sideways ad. So the sideways ad would be more like getting them onto your email list. So here's an example. Let me go back into Customer Engine. I just quickly created one. Actually, what I did was I Googled all the different types of lead magnets I could think of for realtors. And one of the top ones that kept showing up was some type of market weekly report. I don't know if this is going to work every time, but I created just a short list of lead magnets that I would want to try. So again, I just created something really, really simple here. You can do the same thing that I did using Conversion AI to create the copy. And so now you've got two different types of ads. And I even went into Facebook Ads Library just to give you some inspiration on what it could be. You may not want to do this style, but I also just find it helpful to take a look at what other people are doing. So I pulled up, you just have to go to facebook.com/ads/library, and you can take a look at what other people are doing. So here, like this realtor, it's interesting to me because I noticed that at least the realtor ones that I looked at, they only had one or the other. So this one only basically has listings, okay? And so they've got a whole bunch of different listings here, and it looks like they're just using different, I guess, putting different realtors in there. That's fine. Maybe that's just what they do and they just throw it out there. But I would definitely have a combination, but they have a couple of different ones here. This other one I thought was interesting because this guy seems to be the San Diego realtor. He seems to also be trying to create like a persona for himself. So I think he goes a little bit very high on the content part of it, but you can see he's got like a whole bunch of different creative ways of doing things. His videos, and he's trying to create inspirational. He's also got testimonials. These are some really good ideas, but I would do it in your own style. Now, a little trick that I do actually is if you do have an AI or you have a copywriter working with you, I actually go through some ads that I think are interesting, and I take the copy for it and I put it into conversion.ai and I have it rewrite it for me. And I try and make it as different as possible so I'm not copying that person, I'm just being inspired by them. So I just thought it'd be interesting to show you some real ads that were running on different ones. Again, interestingly enough, this person is running more brand related, I think, and more engagement ads, and this other one is actually just running more listing. I would have a combination so that you cover sort of your top of funnel, and then you cover, the bottom of the funnel for the people who want to see the listings. So let me just bring my presentation back up here. Okay. So far we've covered, the restrictions with respect to real estate and how to deal with that, the types of ads. Let's jump over to the audiences. And as I mentioned, it was going very broad. And I think just keep it simple. And what I would do is I would just choose geography. So if you're doing, if the realtor is covering, certain zip codes in a city, just put in all of those zip codes and only focus on that. Like, don't even do parents or don't put any other interests, just go geography. You may want to increase it from 18, of course, onwards. Just make it older, maybe it's 20, maybe it's 25. Like, it depends on the area that you're servicing, if they tend to be an older audience or not, but just make it very, very broad. I find that way you can just focus on the content. And as I mentioned, it's about letting audiences be drawn towards you. And so what you want to make sure is it's what we call pull marketing. Just make sure that the copy and the creative are helping people to self-select. They'll look at that, they'll select it. Facebook will start to learn more about the types of people who convert with that ad, and then they'll start showing it to more and more and more people. So here's one of the problems with real estate funnels that we haven't run into as much with the other funnels that we've done. And that is with real estate, it's a little bit harder to figure out the right combination. You know, I'm guessing for any given area, it's usually a combination of top of funnel, middle funnel, bottom funnel, right? Like it's some type of combination there, and you have to figure out which one you put more of your energy towards. And with real estate, it really depends on the area that you're focusing on, and you have to figure out what's like the sideways interest that's going to help me get them to the point where they want to buy something. Side note, go and Google Ben Adkins 4 magic questions. There's a blog post about it. I'm sure Ashton can give you the link if you need that. That's actually really helpful to go through when you're trying to figure out what type of sideways content to put in, because the 4 magic questions takes you through what are the pain points and what's the gap between the prospect and making a sale. And so if you can create sort of sideways content, like I mentioned, that I think that hits on those types of points, that will help you go a lot further. So because we don't always know, I found that with real estate and with a couple other high risk ones, or maybe ones that are really hard to get conversions, I thought I would share with you my testing approach in more detail, because I kind of was thinking about this earlier this week, and I noticed as I was observing myself in terms of how I think through things, I actually apply this to a lot of different things. And this is what's really helped me get through all of the chaos with Facebook, all of the changes. Yeah, you know, I've seen a little bit of iOS 14 affecting us, but really not as much as what other people are complaining about, because I stick to this approach. It's almost like how Ben was talking about how when everything is chaotic and everything is uncertain, this is my rock. And I stick to this, and it's not sexy. It may be a little boring to some people, but it works. And I noticed that not a lot of people just push through this. So I think that this is also something that can give you a leg up, that can really help you stand out in your market as an agency and really help you service your clients best. So I'm going to jump in here, but before I do, I just wanted to double check with Ashton if there were any questions specifically about the setup of the real estate campaign.
They're just asking to show how you put it all together.
Sure, absolutely. I can definitely do that. Give me a second here. I lost my sharing window. Okay, 1 second here. Absolutely. So the first thing I do is I create the pages. First of all, I always want to create the foundation. So think of it like cooking. You're getting all your ingredients together. The first ingredients I get together are the landing pages. I always have pages in place first before creating ads. Okay. So I went into Customer Engine, and it was very fast to create something. You literally just go new campaign, choose your landing page. I'm just gonna put name. I'm just gonna check here, no offer, info only. And you just put in the logo if you want one, put in the text. Like I said, I use conversion.ai, and I'll just show you here really quickly, because again, I'm sort of lazy too, so I just want to do it really, really fast. So I took the information, I went to, actually, I think I went to headlines first. So I went to headline, and I put the information in here, and it spat out a whole bunch of different options, and I thought, oh, okay, this might look good. So I put that into, I put that into here. And then you just have to change what your inputs are. So I don't care about birthday, so I'm not going to do that right now. You can if you want to show the URL, if you want to ask for URL or whatever, but I just kept it really simple. And then I just press save. So that's how I ended up with these 2 campaigns here. I'll just delete this one for a moment. And that's how I ended up with the real estate listing one and the real estate, like sort of the sideways one, which was about the market research report. And so I just made sure I had that up and running. For me, I just went to Unsplash to grab a picture super quick. If you're working for a realtor and they have pictures, obviously use their pictures for this so that it feels authentic. One of the mistakes you don't want to make is when you're doing local marketing, you don't want to do something that looks awkward or that kind of calls you out as an outsider. So you want to make sure that you connect with locals or have your client give you the ins and outs, because especially if you're talking about like a certain area, you want to make sure that you're using the lingo that the people in that geographic area use. And you're not, for example, where I am in Toronto, there's a highway and we all say, oh, it's a highway 401. But I know some friends who have come and visit us from the States are like, oh yes, we were on highway 401. And as soon as they say that, they're not from here, right? So you don't want to sound like that in your ads because that's going to be a really big turnoff for people. Again, that goes towards pulling the right people towards you. Don't sound like an outsider. Okay, you want to sound like an insider and use the words that the insiders would use. So I created that. And then once you have your landing pages up, then you can just go in and you can create your ads. And let me just pull up an ad account that I can show you because I can't. I'm just going to pull up my own personal one. Just give me a moment here so I can show you what we can do. Okay, so what I would do is I would go create, and I want to do a conversion campaign. Let's pretend I'm creating one for the market report. So I want a conversion campaign because I want people who have entered in their phone number and they've made it to the second page. So I'm just going to go continue, and then you can call it, I like to be as specific as possible. Report, let me just put here conversions. So I like to be specific on the campaign. What is the campaign about? Is this conversions? Is this traffic? Is this video views? Whatever it is. And if it's conversions, I like to indicate which one it is. Basically, if you go through the account and you can quickly spot, hey, I know what that's about. I know what that's about. You've done a good job labeling. It also shows that you're organized, which shows that you're more professional. And I know when I look at an account, if I see that the labeling is all over the place, immediately I think, oh, this person's not, like, they don't have their act together, right? So these little details really add up, and so when somebody goes in there and they see everything has like some type of naming convention, and if somebody else comes in to audit the account, you're going to look better just because it shows that you're organized. And I know Ben has talked about this too, how he gets impressed by people who are organized and have just have everything set up properly. It's an indicator of, authority, I think, and expertise. So the next thing I would do is I would go to the ad set. And so here I like to say, especially if it's broad and it's geography, for me, I put things in, like I usually like to put the interest over here if I'm targeting an interest, and then I put a square bracket. You can do whatever you want. This is just my naming convention. I put, if it's male or female, I'll put the age. So maybe it's 25 plus, right? And then I'll close the bracket, and then I'll put, I'll put here the location. So I'm just going to put this fictional Stars Hollow here. We're not going to do any interest. It's just this. Okay. And then you want to put in your budget, like literally whatever budget you want. And then down here on the audience, what you're going to do is you're just going to go to location, and you're just going to put, whatever city it is. You can put a zip code. Let me just put in a city here just so we have something over here. So just put in the location that you want to target, change the age. So I probably want to have it as, let's see here. Let me scroll down. 25, right? 25 and up. I just leave genders as all genders. Now, lately, as of the date of this recording, Facebook always turns this on. I would turn it off if you're doing geography. If you are doing interest-based only, I would test having it on, just because as of the date of this recording, this does seem to be working. I know that their reps are really pushing that detailed targeting expansion. So if you're doing something that's bigger and you have interest based, I would include this targeting expansion, and we've been seeing better results this way. But if you're geography, you don't want that because you only want people within a certain area. Okay? By the way, you can also drop a pin somewhere as well if you want to be really specific, and then just do something like 10 miles around there, or whatever, you know, whatever you want, okay? So I'm leaving interest targeting blank because we're just doing geography, okay? And oh, by the way, you have to, I know I don't have my pixel set up here. Okay, let me just set up my pixel here. It'll probably prompt you as well to indicate that it's special category. So it would prompt you, just say yes, that yes, you are running this under special category because you have no choice. It's real estate. You really can't get around it. So just run with it, okay? And I just leave everything as automatic placements. Very rarely will I do something that's manual. Normally that's when, if I'm only doing like blog posts for traffic, or if I'm doing video views, I might just do newsfeed only. But for these types of conversion campaigns, I always just do automatic placement. Okay? And that's how I would just leave it. Next, when you want to do your ad, take the, okay, so make sure you have the Facebook page there. Just take the text that we went through over here in the, let me just go back over here. So here's an example of an ad copy. So create the ad copy, the text, the headline, the description, get your images in place, and just paste it all in each of here. So I've got primary text, I've got my headline, I've got my description. I always start with learn more. As when I go through the testing, I'll show you where I change the buttons. You always want to, I just start with learn more. It's nice and simple. And then you're going to put in the URL from your customer engine page. And away you go. You know, like you do have an option. You can try, say, hey, I want to put a call extension because maybe you want them to call you for information. That's totally fine too. Or sorry, call your client for more information. You can definitely do that as well. And yeah, now this part here has to do with making sure everything is set up for iOS 14. I've gone over that in detail in a previous Restart Small Business training. So make sure you go over there because you have to verify your domain and you need to map the events to that domain. Okay. Otherwise, you won't be able to run conversion ads. So make sure you have that there and you're ready to go. By the way, one thing you can do too to help speed things up is you can use just a little tip. And if you have somebody working with you, you can actually use the Creator Hub. So let me just find it right here. It's called Creative Hub, sorry. So if you have somebody working with you or you're just trying to work through the ads, you can actually create your ads inside of Creative Hub. So let me just click here, create mockup. It looks exactly the same way as creating an ad in Ads Manager. And so here, I'm just going to, so you just put the ads in there. You see again here, primary text, headline, description, etc. So you can create a whole bunch of different ads here. And then what you want to make sure is you want to make sure that up here it says show in Ads Manager, turn that on. Now here's the thing, when you go back to the ad, let me show you what you can do. If you have these all created ahead of time, again, you can have somebody on your team work on it as well. When you go in to create your campaign, oops, let me finish this. Let me just recreate this really quick for you. When you're in the ad area here, when you scroll down just a little bit, notice here where it says ad setup and it says create ad. Pull this down here and choose use Creative Hub mockup. It will immediately show all the mockups up here that are associated with your ad account and you just choose it. And it's going to put everything in there that you had in the mockup. So I find that even if you're waiting for some type of setup with the Facebook account, or like I said, you have somebody working with you, get those ads created in Creative Hub, just so at least that's done. And then when all of this is ready, all you have to do is just choose the ads from Creative Hub and just let it run. So that's from basically soup to nuts how I would actually set it all up. So I hope that was really helpful for you. Let me know if you have any questions about it. And I'm going to jump into the testing part of it because I want to make sure that I cover that, since that is really, I think, one of the more powerful things that that I really wanted to share with you today. But Ashton, if there's any other questions about the setup, please let me know. I'm happy to go through with it. So
No
let me go.
questions.
Sorry. Are we good, Ashton?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay, cool. So let me go into the testing mode. This is really powerful because you need some type of reliable process to help you figure out what's going to work. None of us has a crystal ball. We don't know what's going to work for this campaign or this campaign. So you need to have something that you can rely upon that's going to get you out, like to help you dig yourself out of this hole that you've created. And it works in almost any situation where you're struggling to get results or you don't know where to start. Okay. And as I said, it's when everything kind of just appears random or feels random, you need some type of reliable foundation. And it's powerful because, quite frankly, if you describe that you have a process, it's impressive. The fact that I have, and I can say I have a QA process, which is literally just somebody else on my team reviewing the ads to make sure that there's no typos or that it all works, that's impressive to people. So if you say you have a testing process and a QA process, it's just impressive and can only help your agency when you have something like this and you have a process that you document. So that's why I wanted to share it with you today too, because I wanted to make sure that you had something, even if you are not focusing on real estate, that you can use. And I would definitely use this in the real estate campaign, like I said. And the approach is simple. It's to unlock each micro action in a specific order. And this is something I learned many years ago from Lewis Schiff when I was working with him. And he said, you have to figure out what's blocking everybody else and just unlock each of those. And people will think you can get so much more done because everything you do is literally unlocking unlocking a whole bunch of other things. So when it comes to Facebook ads, what I'm doing is I'm trying to unlock everything from the top to the bottom, which means from the beginning when people are looking at the ads, and you'll see how I do this all the way to when they buy. And then you can actually apply this to any other situation. So what do I mean by this? Specifically for Facebook ads, here's what I'm looking at. I'm looking at what does somebody need to do, right? What are the steps they have to go through when they encounter my ad in the wild and then they end up entering their cell phone number and I got them on my list, okay? Well, what's the first thing they have to do? They literally have to stop and watch the ad. If you can't get people to look at your ad, it doesn't matter if you have the best copy, the most amazing landing page, nobody's seeing it. It's like you bought a Rolls Royce and it's just sitting in the garage all the time. Okay? Or you have a Tesla or whatever it is that you want to show off and you just hide it away, you bury it, and nobody sees it. You don't want your ads to be that way and you don't want your funnel to be that way. So the first step is, how do I get people to stop the scroll? And that's usually the creative, because that in social ads, the creative hits you first. Whether it's a video, a long video, a short video, a couple seconds, one image, a carousel of images, whatever it is, that's the creative. Okay. So that's the first step. I keep working to unlock that first, okay? And sometimes it could take you a day, sometimes it could take you a week, okay? And I'll show you how I go through this, but that's the first thing I'm looking at. Once I've unlocked the creative and I know, okay, and I'll give you some numbers too, just to have for reference, but once I've unlocked the creative, the next thing I'm going to go through is I'm going to improve the click-through to the landing page. Some people just only focus on the creative and they win very quick. So sometimes these give you really quick wins. I've had some campaigns where just one of these, as I went through it, turned everything around. And some creatives are so good. I've used some creatives for a year even, because it's been so good. So let's stop the scroll. The next thing is click through to the landing page. I will test the headline first. I have found in my experience that changing the headline on an ad and also changing a headline on a landing page moves the needle faster. That's all it is. So I will test different headlines with the winning creative to see what's going to improve the click-through rate to the landing page. After I figured out, okay, this headline seems to be working well, I'll then test the button. So I said that I usually start with learn more. Choose other buttons to test and just choose a variety of them. Don't try and figure out, oh, like you feel more affinity towards one button. Just start testing them one by one. Obviously you don't want to have the ones that make no sense, although hey, sometimes they do work. Like for example, I had one campaign that it was doing okay, but I'm like, okay, how can I improve this? So I got to this point, and by switching it from learn more to get offer, the cost per acquisition went way down and started improving everything. So I'm like, yes, I figured it out now. So now I can create other variations using that button. And then the primary text is the last one I would change. The reason is, if you think about it, right? Like, I'm trying to get them to stop. Then the next thing they look at is the headline and the button. That kind of sticks out a little bit more. The primary text is when they want to dive in deeper. So that's why I leave that last to test. Also because I'm trying to find low-hanging fruit. If I can change the trajectory of a campaign with just the change of a button without having to rewrite all the primary text, I will, right? So much easier. Once you have the data, and let me show you here, I have a couple of percentages that I try and hit. Usually for stopping the scroll, I want to get more than 2%. If I see anything under 1%, I turn it off. Even if it's only been served up to like 100 people, I try and at least get the impressions to be 100 at least to see what's happening. But if it's under 1%, I'm just going to turn it off because it's just not working. Okay, it's really not working at all. So you want to get 2%. I've gotten creatives that have been over 10%, 12%, 15%. If you're really, and you really hit it well, but you want to get, try and get 5%, click through, 6% click through. That shows you that, it shows you that you capture their attention in some way. And then for the click-through rate to the landing page, so there's two stats, right? In Facebook, there's CTR all, which is what I measure to see if I'm stopping the scroll well. And then there is click-through rate, and then it put in brackets link, okay? That is what I'm looking for click-through to the landing page. I want that to be above 1%. I would love for it to be above 2%. There are exceptions. I definitely have some ads that are performing well, and the click-through rate to the landing page is under 1%. I don't know why, but the thing with Facebook is, you know what? If it's working, just don't touch it. If it's working and it doesn't follow any of these rules, don't touch it. Just let it keep going, okay? So I want to kind of get this combination going here on the ads. Notice I'm not even looking at the landing page yet, because you know what? If they're not clicking through to the landing page, who cares what the landing page says, right? You got to get these top actions working first. Once I have that going, then I'm going to go over it again with a quality view. Okay? And what I mean by quality is, well, okay, are we actually attracting the right type of people? Are we getting poor quality? Are we not getting the right people? If we're not, then I'm gonna make some changes. Like, you're gonna have to change the creative. You're gonna have to change the primary text for sure, because something about it is attracting the wrong people. So if I'm trying to attract like a home buyer, maybe I'm trying to attract like a young couple who want to buy a new home, I need to make sure that my creative reflects that. I need to make sure that my wording reflects it, and that I'm hitting points in that ad that make it feel relevant to that young couple. If I'm not, and I end up getting totally different demographic, I have to go back and add that to my creative and my copy. And then I repeat steps 1 and 2 again. Okay? Because I've got the system. I'm like, I'm going to try this, I'm going to try this, I'm going to try this. So I repeat this again, but having layered on, okay, but it has to feel like it's relevant for a young couple. And then you just have to kind of keep going through it. I've done some other training, and I keep referring back, but we've covered a lot in this series, and I have talked about how to test creatives and things like that. And what my advice to you here is just remove all emotion from it. Go through and have your list of, I'm going to test these, and just test them. Don't be afraid to test new things, but have a reason why you're testing it. Have like your 3 to 5 headlines. I'm going to test each one of these. Choose the button words that you're going to test, and just make sure you go through it. If you keep kind of slogging it out, I know it's not sexy, but this has actually helped me move the needle in so many different situations where people can figure it out. Or I get asked to take over an ad account and they've just like run out of ideas. What I do is I pick a new idea and I just start testing against the current ads in there. And I follow this exact same thing. So the key here is to figure out what the order is, okay, that you need to test things in. And then you just write it down and you just follow it and let the data tell you what happens. And through this, like I said, sometimes you uncover ads that they don't hit these numbers, but they're converting well, and they're converting well to the right people. in that case, just leave, like I said, just leave it. But you will start to uncover those as you just systematically going through and testing these. And I'm doing it all inside the same ad set. So I'll have like one ad set and I'll have like, I'll run like 3 ads and then I'll keep testing. I will create new ad sets, by the way, if I get too many ads in one ad set. So you want to make, like, you don't want to end up having like 20 ads in one ad set. So at some point you may have to create a brand new campaign just so you can restart the testing again inside of that ad set if you have way too many ads. But a lot of times I'm just putting an ad up there and I'm just trying different things, putting up other ads just to see how it works. I tend not to use the testing feature with Facebook that much. I just like to do it where I just put it in the ad set and see where Facebook likes to send the traffic to. You can definitely do it though with Facebook's testing. I just find like I don't need it and it's just easier for me. Again, I like to keep things really, really, really simple. And this is what I would do for real estate. I would do this for the sideways. I would do this for the listings. Like maybe you start to find that you get better results with a certain type of imagery of the houses. Like maybe you're testing a walkthrough versus like more like a short video TikTok style walkthrough of the house versus images of the house. Or maybe you find like you get better click-throughs and you get better opt-ins with, when you're showing maybe, I don't know, like the exterior of the house or, the interior of the house attracts more. I don't know. It just, you have to keep testing those different things. Same thing with the sideways. When I said, you have to give them a client magnet, right, to get them to opt in, maybe the Market Watch report isn't the right thing. You'll know once you just start to test, right? You might have to change the whole hook. It might be something where you have to keep tweaking things, but if you just keep following this approach, you will eventually hit upon what's actually going to work. And oh, by the way, after all of this is done, right, if your ads are converted, like if you have good data for your ads and it's still not converting, then you gotta look at the landing page. The first thing I look at with the landing page is technology. Like, does it literally work? And I've said this before, go through your funnel yourself. Make sure it literally works, because a lot of times it's technology that is a problem. View it in mobile. Most of the times people are watching things on the phone. Check it on your, like literally check it on your phone. Don't just do like a generator that kind of shows you what it might look like on a phone. Grab your phone, look at it through your phone, and and see how, if there's any problems there. Also check if it matches the ad well. Some of my best ads are literally, I took the same image, I have the same image on the top of the landing page as I do on the ad, and it worked, or the same video and it worked, so sometimes that helps. And if you want, you can also set up a heat map maybe to see how people are interacting with it. And I didn't add this here, but it literally could be the offer. Like sometimes you've tested everything and there really isn't anything else you can test, and it's still not converting, then it's probably the offer. Like it's just probably not the right offer. So again, if you're trying to test what's a good sideways campaign to run, maybe the Market Watch report isn't the best thing, or maybe you have to name it in a different way or have a different hook. But be open that it could be the offer. Maybe you're trying to sell property that doesn't match up well to the location. Like maybe it's like maybe the location just isn't right for luxury properties, for example, and you're selling luxury properties. So you have to also take a look at that too. But at least you've gone through the initial testing to be, okay, at least I know the ads are working. Like I figured out what people are interested in and what they're clicking through. Now I have to figure out how I can deliver what they want, and also make sure that what they want aligns with what I want too, right? And that's kind of like what marketing is, right? You're trying to match up your offer to the audience, and how can you make your offer enticing enough to the audience so that they'll opt in. And the bonus I wanted to give you here is you can apply this to any marketing issue you have. I've applied this to, I was working on a very complex automation and it wasn't working. I applied it. I figured out, what do I have to go through from the top, check each micro action, test it out, and figure out how you can get more email opens, or figure out how you can push people through your automation faster. Like you literally can just take this and apply this to any problem. Even if you're working on your workflow process for your agency, maybe in terms of how to have creatives done. What's the order? What can you test in each way? Is it like sending somebody instructions via Trello is more effective than maybe sending it to them through, I don't know, another way, or just coming up with different ways, like what can you do to unlock or improve the next step. I keep seeing myself over and over and over again applying this exact same approach. So hopefully you can take this with your agency or any problems you have, and you can make it work for you there and to help you be more efficient. So that's everything I wanted to share with you. I'm sorry if we went through it very quickly, but I really wanted to make sure that we covered the real estate funnel and also help to make it relevant to you if you are not doing real estate, and also giving you some tips too on how you can apply it to make your own agency more successful. So with that, we have a few minutes left. I wanted to check if there were any questions for people here. Ashton, do we have any questions?
Yes, somebody's wanting to know where they can find the 4 magic questions.
So that is actually, let's take a look here. One moment. I'm going to close this down. Let's see what happens. Let's see how Ben's SEO is. So I type in Ben Adkins 4 magic questions. He's talked about this a lot. Here we go. Here's one. Fearless Social, 3 simple steps to reading people's minds. Boom. They are in here. I know he's got his 4 questions here as well. I know it says 3 simple steps, but let me just scroll down here. I know it says 3 simple steps, but it's 4 questions. So you just have to kind of go through there. And I think he might have he's even got a YouTube video, so you can kind of go through that as well. I don't know where it is anymore, but yeah, so just Google it. It's probably this one here. And Ashton, maybe you have an updated link you can share with people. But it's really powerful. I use it for every campaign, like every audience as I'm going through. It really works, and it's simple, right? You know, Ben and I like things to be stupid simple so that you can just implement it and move on.
That is all the questions I'm currently seeing in the chat.
Okay, great. Well, thank you everybody for coming today, and watch out for the replay. I've given Ashton a copy of the presentation as well, so you can have and download it. And if you have any questions, you can always find me in the Facebook group. And I hope you all have a great day.
Thank you so much.